Hello out there, hummingbirds. This is St. Patrick's Day, I believe. People are out. Okay, people aren't out. People are at home. I don't know. Drinking their green beer. Today is Hump Day. It's Wednesday here on Lunch Therapy. I think something weird's going on with Facebook. I'm not going out to Facebook for some reason. But you know, I don't run Facebook, so not really able to do anything about it. So hopefully there's some people coming in on YouTube or Instagram or wherever. Today is a fun show because we're going to look at some really interesting animals. We're going to look at the giraffe today, which I had no idea the giraffe was so exciting. Let's see, Vernus is here today. Glad to be here again, watching your show while getting a mani-pedi. That's great. Mobile. Loretta is here. Jose is here. Hummy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there in Hummingbird Land. So we're going to be talking about giraffes. We're going to be talking about prairie dogs. And also, there was a big question about Zankou chicken the other day on the show. And we have gotten to the bottom of the Zankou chicken scandal, and we're going to talk about that on here on the show. I just wanted to say on Friday, for Interview Friday, we're going to have one of the best known acting teachers in Hollywood. You may not know her name, or you may know her name, but many of the people that she's coached, you know their names. Jared Leto. Yes, Jared Leto. She coached Jared Leto, the amazing starvation artist. And Brad Pitt and Charlize Theron. Verna says her parents were married on St. Patrick's Day. Her mom wore an orange dress. I like it. I'm wearing green today. That's why you can't see my shirt. Loretta loves giraffes. Yeah, they're fellow vegetarians. Exactly. So anyway, some of the other people that Ivana Chubbuck has coached are Gary Shandling, Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, Shia LaBeouf, Sylvester Stallone. Anyway, the list goes on and on. It's tons of Oscars, tons of Emmys. She wrote a book called The Power of Acting, or The Power of the Actor. The Power of the Actor. So Friday, don't miss it. But today, we have the incredible, well, I'm not going to say who it is. I'm going to reveal it later on for those of you who don't know. Let's get into the show. I'm going to play a little different intro today. It's a punk song called I Just Want to Live With My Parents.
I don't want to make my bed. I don't want to get a job. I just want to live with my parents. I just want to live with my parents.
Okay, here we are. Now we're in the relaxing breathing part of the show. I did want to point out that there is a video now on the Joel Marshall Lunch Therapy channel that features Vernus Clear doing the breathing exercise that she did on the show. So I highly recommend that. Check out the channel, check out Vernus, check her out. In through the nose. She's getting a mani-pedi, so she's looking good out there. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. For those of you who may not know, Lunch Therapy is a place to take a break from all the stuff that's going on in the world. Maybe get a manicure, maybe get a pedicure, maybe eat your lunch. It's just a little mini break. We like to have things to look forward to on the show, and I wanted to tell you about a few things that are coming up. Jack Does. He has a channel called Jack Does. His name is Jack Franklin, actually. He has a show with the American Comedy Institute. It's a stand-up show. It's his first show virtually in New York. And channel, yes, YouTube channel is called Joel Marshall's Lunch Therapy. Please go there and subscribe. It helps. So yeah, Jack Does, Franklin, he's going to be doing stand-up comedy with the American Comedy Institute. It is in the show notes. I recommend it. They're great. They put on great shows, and he's really super cool. You've probably seen him on the show. Also, George Hood, the following weekend, is going to be attempting the most push-ups in an hour. So check that out. That's in the show notes as well. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Behind me is Phuket, which is in Thailand. This is a time-lapse photography situation here where we're watching the sunset as shown to us through the lens of Jeff Lohman, who lives out there and he's vacationing right now in Phuket. So thank you, Jeff Lohman. But we're going to get on with the show. Here we go. Dare mighty things. One more breath, in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. I have a guest coming on the show, and she is going to be behind that curtain there, and she is an expert that I have brought on the show because we are going to be talking about Zankou chicken. She's an expert in Zankou chicken. She's also an expert in serial killers, but this is not a serial killer story, but I thought it would be appropriate because she's a journalist and she also is one of the hosts of the podcast MDK Squad, which is called Murder, Death, Kill Squad. Have I been to Thailand, Loretta? I've been to Thailand, but not Phuket, I'll tell you. So we're going to be bringing Gini on soon, but I wanted to show this. This is I said Gini. I said her name. We're going to be bringing on someone named Gini later on, but I wanted to show you some facts about prairie dogs. So I've been talking about how I was going to show prairie dogs on the show, and last week we played a Mark Strignell song, and there were prairie dogs in it, and some of them were these prairie dogs. But I just wanted to let you know some facts about prairie dogs because it's very important, and they also are just darling creatures, as you can see here. I don't know what they were doing, hugging each other. I don't know, but I love to watch any kind of squirrel-like animal eat. Are they different from gophers? It's a great question. Yes, prairie dogs are in the same family as gophers, but they are actually totally different. Not totally different. They're a lot the same. They look the same, but they're in the squirrel family, the ground squirrel family, like the marmot. We've had marmots on the show before. They're smaller than marmots. They live in both cold and warm climates. I hate that feeling of prairie dogging. I don't know that feeling of prairie dogging. Well, we're going to get to the dark side of prairie dogs soon here, because they do have a dark side, but I'm going to tell you all about all the good stuff first. They live in colonies, towns that can span hundreds of acres. They also have subgroups, which are called wards. So they have these little families. And so they have a town, and it'll be like 15 to 26 of these family wards, and each ward has one male and then 2 to 3 adult females. So they're not monogamous, they're polygamists. I think that's probably why they live up there in Utah, because there's a lot of polygamists up there. And they live in Colorado, and they live in these places. And there's a lot of prairies and a lot of tunnels and things like that they live in. But each year, the prairie dogs go into what's called a rut that can last for several months. I don't know if that's where they get the word rut. I don't know if there are any people in a rut out there. It feels like we've been in a rut for almost a year, more than a year. Oh no, I don't know, Todd. That seems totally inappropriate. But that's the kind of show this is. Sometimes there's very inappropriate things, and Todd can provide them for us. Todd Lee, we appreciate that. So yeah, they go into this rut, and for several months, their personalities can drastically change, which I think is interesting because I think, that happens to me sometimes. I don't know. They become defensive or even aggressive. That's what happens to me sometimes. Maybe I'm, deep down, I was like a prairie dog in a previous life, because I'll go through those moods too, where I'm like in a rut. So here's the, how do we get out of ruts? Anybody know in the chat room, if you're in a rut, how do you get out of it? Todd says it was his pleasure. I think Todd gets out of his rut by saying inappropriate things. I like to get out of my rut by writing a great song and then, publishing it, make millions of dollars. That gets me out of a rut every single time. So here's the dark side. The dark side of prairie dogs. Dark side of prairie dogs is... Oh, Gini is finally here. There she is. I told her, come on a little late into the show, but I thought maybe I'd get her here for the prairie dogs. But let me tell you about the dark side. They get the plague. Yeah. They have been known to carry the Black Death, the thing that killed 60% of medieval Europe, and then millions more later. Todd gets out of the rut by turning the wheel. Wow. That's interesting. I don't know what that means. Listen to lunch therapy to get out of a rut. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's what lunch therapy is for. Get people out of their ruts. I think that's it. Who knew that animals got in ruts? Who knew that I would say rut so many times in the show today? So they get in a super rut because they get the bubonic plague. Here's a sign. Prairie dogs have plague. This is from up in Colorado. In 2019, perhaps in 2019, they got the plague, and there was actually, you couldn't cuddle any prairie dogs at that time. But you know what the real crime was? Because the plague comes from fleas, and the fleas bite the prairie dogs, they said, and then the cats somehow the dogs interact with the prairie dogs, and then all of a sudden, what happens next? You can't sleep with your dogs anymore. Nope. The CDC put a thing out that said no one is allowed to sleep there with their dogs because the fleas will jump off. They'll give you the plague. What is the plague? The plague, basically, it affects your lymph nodes and your glands. And the word bubonic? Anybody know what the word bubonic means? The word bubonic means groin. Yeah. So there you go. Because I guess you get a lot of these problems in the groin area when you get the plague. Anyway, plague is nothing really compared to the coronavirus because I think maybe 7 people have gotten it in the last 70 years. So it's really not. It's more the prairie dogs that have to worry about it. So what was the solution? What was the solution to the prairie dog plague? They just sent out drones. This is one of the things they did. Sent out drones and ATVs, and they put these little peanut butter pellets with the vaccine in it all over the place. And these little prairie dogs are just like, yum, 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 yum. They ate up all these pellets and cured them. Bubonic. It's a bionic boob. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to get back to Gini, and I'm going to reveal her in the guest situation here. She's getting into places, everyone, places. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please. It's not much of a drum roll. I always blow the drum roll. Let me try it one more time. There we go. And Gini Sikes, yay! So glad to see you. Oh, you're getting laughs already. Yay! She's Ginny's gonna be at 2 frames per second, so it'll be kind of like a slideshow. The crowd is going crazy. I had no idea that they would just go nuts like this. Oh man, that just never. It's just keeps going. It's just a roll. It's a roll. You're on a roll. Anyway, great to see you, Ginny.
Hey, and if you want, if you're just gonna have that frozen picture of me, I can just talk.
Yeah, I can put the curtain back up and maybe like I'm going to advertise your podcast. How about that? MDK.
Cool.
Murder, Death, Kills.
Yeah, murder.
So you've got a podcast about murder. Wow.
Yes. Each week it's 3 comics that take on a different murderer and tell a story of it. And and I'm a crime reporter, and the commonality is crime doesn't pay, and neither does comedy.
I like that. I want to see your freezing face. I do. I want to see it.
Oh God, it's not my end. It's
sure it's something to do with your crazy internet people. We gotta get on them. Okay. So Spectrum, the specter of Spectrum. I'd like to jump right into the Zanku story. So we're going to do, it's a crazy story. Okay. So let me just preface this. Last week, we were talking, Ginny, you can go out and come back in while I preface this. Maybe I would get better video. But, so last week we were talking on the show, we had Ariana Ramick and, we had Stuart Keaton. This was not last week. This was just Monday, just Monday. And we were talking about restaurants, and we talked about Zanku Chicken. And Ariana was like, you know the story of Zanku Chicken, right? And I was like, I think so. I think I know the story. And I asked her, and she didn't quite know. She knew there was just some kind of interesting intrigue. And Zanku Chicken is a place that I have gone to since I've been in Los Angeles. It's delicious chicken. I wrote a song about it. Many songs have been written about Zanku Chicken. I told Ginny about it. And let's see if we can bring Ginny back in. There's Ginny. Oh, there's not Ginny. This is definitely a Wednesday kind of experience today.
I am here, though. I can hear
there you are. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe the chat room can tell us whether they prefer to see a curtain, an advertisement for your podcast, or stuttering video. You can tell us.
No stuttering video.
You don't like? Do you not like the stuttering video because it catches you with a weird face? Is that it?
I just think it might be distracting for your viewers, but
yeah, it might be.
Whatever they would like.
Well, they can always look at this delicious chicken behind us. This is Zanku Chicken. Zanku Chicken's the best chicken there is. It's so delicious.
Okay, I have. It's interesting because you and Pamela, your lovely wife, were the people who introduced me to that chicken when I first moved back to LA, and you took me in there, and I was like, this chicken's not so good.
What?
I mean, it's chicken. No, what? I am one of the few people who's not a fan. And after hearing the story, after finding out about the murders, now I know why.
The murders? Wait a minute. Okay, this is Zanku Chicken. Zanku Chicken is the best chicken. Zanku Chicken, it's the best chicken. It's the best chicken in the whole wide world, which is, why we wrote the song. And I'm telling you, that song just spontaneously came out of my face as soon as I started putting that chicken in my face. It wasn't like a thing where I was like, hey, I think I'm going to write a song. It was like, I am just having an experience here that is words fail me. So I'll go into song. And then Zanku Chicken, it's the best chicken. It's the best chicken in the whole wide world. And I just kept singing that song. And now you tell me that you don't even like it. You don't even like it.
I remember that song because when you guys took me there, you guys both sang that song.
Yeah.
And I now know Zanku's Chicken. It's the best chicken. And unfortunately, the song never got out of my mind.
Maybe that was the problem. Is like the song was not really, I don't know. Maybe the song gave you too high of a bar. Maybe it gave you expectations that were beyond what food could possibly do. Because, I think music is probably the highest art form, right? Because it affects you on such a visceral level. And so food maybe doesn't. Maybe no food can live
Or
up to
maybe
it.
I found the song. Maybe I found the song unappetizing, and that led to the.
That I think that's impossible. I think that's impossible. So let me tell you the history. I'll tell you the history of Zanku, and then you can tell me the dark history.
Oh yeah.
Basically, okay, so it was founded in Beirut in 1962. Did you know that? There was actually a Zanku chicken. And Zanku, did you know that? You probably
I did. I looked it
Yeah,
up.
you know all this stuff. So it was founded in 1962. Vartkas Iskandarian is the guy's name. And he only had two dishes, chicken and beef kebab. And the family moved. They were Armenians who lived in Beirut. They moved to LA. They were going to maybe start, and they had this whole restaurant there. They were going to start maybe something else when they came here. They were like, we don't want to be in the chicken business anymore. But the son was just so into it that he was like, no, I want to start a chicken store, a chicken restaurant called Zanku Chicken. And I want to put it on Sunset. I want to put it right by the huge blue Scientology building. I want to put it right by the self-actualization center and the hospital. So it's right there in a prime location, kind of a forgotten area of Hollywood, not maybe as glamorous as the Hollywood.
Oh, not at all.
No, it's not a glamorous. It's a very unglamorous strip mall is where it is.
Yes, and it's still unglamorous.
It's still, well, when I first went there, it was just a real hole in the wall. Like it was like, there was barely enough room to put tables in there. And the line was around the block and everybody was there.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. And then, so yeah, it was super popular. And then they expanded to the glorious restaurant that they have now, which has ample seating. And the people there, that frequent that place, some hugely famous people, frequent there, right? I mean, didn't Childish Gambino like set a whole video there or something? Or there was some, yeah. So
yep, he did.
So the food is delicious. Zagat rated it super highly. They said it was one of America's best meal deals, which obviously Gini has no clue. Yeah.
And the famous LA Times food critic, Jonathan Gold, helped make it famous.
He did. Yeah. He said,
put it on the map.
He said the chicken was superb and nothing in heaven or on earth compared to the garlic paste. So there.
Which was the mother. That was the mother's, the mother of the mother who started it in Lebanon is really the person who, she had the secret ingredient of that garlic, but she also worked like hell. And the reason why they wanted to do a dry cleaning shop when they came to LA was his father and mother didn't want to keep working like that. Apparently it was a lot of work.
Oh,
but the son insisted that they open it.
Well, you go there, they're working hard. I'm telling you, it's because there's so many people coming in and it's so delicious and people are just knocking down the doors for it. So, I guess apparently Pepsi offered them a lot of money for it. What was it, like $30 million or something? Did you hear this part? Pepsi said, hey, we want to start a Zanku chain. Yeah.
Yeah. But they wanted to keep it in the family.
Is that why they wanted to do it? They didn't want to sell it?
Well, so the son, and I'm going to mangle his name. So if any Armenian listeners are on here, I apologize in advance. Yeah. But my understanding was that the mom, mother, who was the matriarch and started the thing, was extremely hardworking. But she had a son, her first son, and he was a playboy, and he got in trouble before they moved to the States. He was arrested for being involved in the murder of a jewelry heist gone wrong. And when they went to trial, he said, "Oh no, my friend just hid the jewelry there. I had nothing to do with it." Whether that was true or not, he got off and 3 other people went to jail. And after that, he always carried a gun. So, really? But he was so he comes to America and he is very entrepreneurial, and he sees that there's a place for great takeout. The takeout food in LA is horrible. His mom and dad don't want to do it. So he convinces them, and it becomes successful. And the whole thing that leads into problems is they become so successful that start to argue about who owns what. And he wanted to franchise and build, have other Zanku chickens, and the mom and pop are like, oh God, no, we can't, like we're killing ourselves as it is.
Yeah.
So he agrees. He gets the Hollywood brand, and a sister helps him manage it, and the rest of the family can get the franchise.
I heard they were pulling in like $2 million a year on that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so he adored his mother on some level. He wouldn't even let his wife ride, and he loved his wife too. He wouldn't let his wife ride in the front seat if his mom was with him.
Really?
But she was also a pain. So then he wants to. So what he does is he winds up putting everything in his name without telling the family.
Oh.
And so when the mom finds out,
Yeah.
she creates a trust to trademark a trust so that all 3 children of hers get it equally. And she pushes the eldest son out of the ownership of Hollywood.
Oh, well, see, the way I heard it was he took the name Zanku because he wanted to make the franchise, and the family just kept the restaurant, and he didn't have any stake in the restaurant anymore. And so then he started franchising.
Yes, I'm sorry. You're right. That's right.
Is that what happened? So
You're
they kind of split it up because they were having a hard time. And
Well,
then
the mother wanted to split it up among the siblings, but without telling them, he changed it and put it in his name. And that's when things started falling apart.
yeah, that's when. So he started making franchises. He made one in Glendale, and now today there are probably 10 different franchise restaurants. And then he had 2 sisters essentially, and one of the sisters had sons. No, he had sons, but his sons were like getting in trouble at the time, right?
Well, it's interesting. He did have sons, and his son Stephen kind of followed in his footsteps. He was, had nice cars, and he got arrested for shooting a pimp and a prostitute.
Yeah, shooting at them, like it hit their car or something.
Yeah,
like that, right.
Yeah, so he was facing jail time, but he, like his father, he didn't go to jail. Another son had an addiction problem. So their grandmother, his mother, didn't want to will it to his sons. She wanted to do it equally among all the siblings.
Wow.
But he disagreed, and that's so. And then he got cancer. He got cancer. They believe it affected his brain. He was near death, and he was angry that his mother was not going to let him give this to his sons.
Let me tell you the things that I think I know about this. One is the original founder died. Varkas died. Mardiros, the grandfather died in 1992. Mardiros kind of took over. They split the thing up. He started doing franchises, and then he got brain and colon cancer, apparently. Told the family, and his mother was upset, but more like mad, sort of like didn't want to talk to him anymore, because she said something about your sons are not following in your shadow or something like that. She said something that was that she said the shadow they cast is not yours. That's what she said.
Yes, because he wanted to leave it to his sons, and she didn't feel any of them were equipped to do what he had done. So she wanted to leave it to the sisters, again, splitting it up among all of them and leaving his sons out.
And so then he got brain cancer and colon cancer. I mean, he had brain cancer and colon cancer, and then that was progressing while all this kind of controversy was going on. And then he took a picture. His mom had a picture of him and he took the picture out of the frame. Did you hear about this? And he lit it on
Yeah.
fire. He burned it up, but then he threw the rest of it in the trash, and then it caught the house on fire. Is that right?
Right. Yes, and the house caught on fire, and after that, the grandmother, his mother, who had lived with him, for her entire life in America, moved in with the sisters. So, I mean, both of them had their issues. The mother was, an extreme matriarch, but she had worked all her life. I mean, it sounded like
She
all
was
she
still
did was make
working in the
garlic
restaurant and everything, right?
She was 76 years old, still going every day to work. And I mean, you can see some of her point of view that his sons didn't look like they were going to be able to keep up the business.
Yeah.
But she also didn't talk to her son while he was dying of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So near the end of his life, when it was clear he was going to die, his wife saw him come downstairs, and he was all dressed up in a nice suit, which he hadn't been able to do in a long time. And he said he was going out to talk to some people about the restaurant. Well, he went over to his sister's house, and they had a conversation. And you feel free to interrupt me if
So
you
he
want
has
to add.
this
So they had a
white suit on, right? Like this white suit.
Yeah,
It doesn't quite fit him anymore because he's lost like 60 pounds or something from cancer.
Yes.
He goes over to the sister's house. The mother and the sister are there sitting at the table. And then they drink lemonade, right?
Yeah. And yep. Mm-hmm. And he believed that he had built Zankus, and it belonged to him alone, and that he believed the trademark was his too. And he didn't want to split it up with the family. So, but he was trying, he started to talk about that, and they were like, no. So he stood up and he shot his sister in the head. His mother started running toward the door. He ran after her, and she pleaded with him. She said, please don't shoot me. Please don't shoot me, because the neighbors heard her yelling in Armenian.
Yeah.
So he shot her in the chest, and she fell face up, and he straddled her.
Whoa,
and
I
then
never heard this
proceeded
part.
to shoot her. Yeah.
This is murder, death, kill style stuff.
Yep.
Here.
And he proceeded to shoot her, and she was raising her hands. Two times, 3 times, 4 times, up to 8 times. He shot her 8 times straight in the heart.
This is a dark story. I don't know if this is lunch therapy style.
Well, it gets worse. After
no.
he's killed her, he looks up, and his nephew, his sister's son, is looking at him.
Yeah.
And he looks up at the son, the nephew, who he considered as a son at one time, and the nephew looked up to him.
Yeah.
And the son the nephew just looks at him, and then he walks into the other room, and the nephew hears a gunshot, and he's killed himself.
Whoa. That was some detail.
And
I wasn't ready for that.
So just the interesting thing is the overkill about the mom.
Yeah.
That's what cops and that's called overkill, because obviously he killed her with one shot. I just have to tell you, it reminds me of a story I just did, and I just did a story on a crime reporter.
Yeah.
It's related. I did a story on a crime reporter who was covering this case in Macedonia, and he had all these details, and all the women were who disappeared and then were killed were elderly.
Yeah.
They worked as cleaning ladies.
Yeah.
And he had all these great details on them, and it turned out, well, he knew them all.
Yeah.
He murdered by night and wrote about it in the morning.
Oh my God.
And he talk about a killer deadline. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
All the women look like his mother. And he would abduct them, keep them for weeks, torturing them in the most horrible way.
Oh my God.
Horrible ways, and dress them as his mother while he was doing all these tortures. The thing is that his wife, just like the Zanku chicken's wife, she said he was a lovely man. She never saw him angry except when arguing with his mother. But the one time the wife criticized the mother, he refused to speak to her for a week. So both, like, so with this guy, it was the same thing. He both worshipped and hated his mother.
Yeah.
So that's why I think, hence the overkill. The other thing, though, they did say that he had, he was suffering from brain.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing that we want to say. There was a pressure in his head. Apparently, like there's probably some kind of pressure in his head that was made him do this horrific thing that he wouldn't have done normally. That's what I get from it. Now I'm moving on because this is becoming the darkest lunch therapy ever to grace people's doorsteps. And
well, if people want to read more, I'm just going to say, if people want to read more, one of the sons posted a blog post blaming the grandmother, and there's a terrific LA Magazine story.
Yes. I wanted to credit that because a lot of the information we got today was from the LA Magazine story, which is by Mark Arax, Arax. And also I read something from this thing called Splice Today, an ode to Zankou chicken by Lauren Cantor. So that's where a lot of that information came from. But now we got to move out of this because I just feel like Todd says, murder therapy. I don't know if it works. I don't know if murder therapy works. So we're going to move on to some giraffes.
Murder therapy does work. So I don't think murder therapy does work. So I recommend against it.
We tried it out. So we're going to get on with it. But there's going to be, so we're in the giraffe section of the show now. I need me some giraffes, I'll tell you, after that story, because I started to get all like hot. I was so stressed out about that. Charles Goldsmith, blown away. Yeah, so we definitely ventured into the story of the Zankou chicken, and now we don't have to worry about that story anymore. But if you want to hear more Murder, Death, Kill, the great podcast with the great Gini Sikes, check it out, because they're just such interesting stories. And they don't advocate, obviously, they say this on the podcast, they don't advocate murder, death, and kill. They just find the stories kind of interesting because it's psychological.
Yeah, and we like to make fun of the killers. So the only people who would be offended are murderers. I like to make fun of serial killers too. But I don't want to, poke the bee's nest too much. So no. Jeez. So giraffes. These are some delightful giraffes, aren't they? Perhaps so what do you know about giraffes, Ginny? I went to Kenya, and I just remember that our guide was trying to tell us how to tell the differences between the different kinds of giraffes. I think there's 4 species.
Yeah.
But the ones I remember are the reticulated, and I'm trying to see that picture, I believe. Okay, so here's the description. Maybe you can see. Yeah. The reticulated giraffe has polygonal, deep reddish color spot. I think this is it. And the Maasai giraffe has, it's orange-brown patches that are less jagged with creamy colors in the middle.
Okay,
or in between.
So here's what I know. Giraffes are the tallest mammal on the planet, tallest one, which is not a surprise, I suppose. They can grow up to 16 feet tall. I guess tallest land mammal. I don't know. Is a whale tall? A whale's not tall. A whale's long, I guess. But yeah, largest land mammals. They grow up to 16 feet tall, the males. They are more like cows.
Yet their neck is too short. And their neck is too short to reach the ground.
What? Oh.
Their neck is too short to reach the ground. That's why they have to stand that awkwardly. You know how when they stand to...
Yeah.
And they only need to drink every few days, so maybe they don't have to put their neck down too often.
Well, I hear it's quite a thing when they have to suck all that water up through their neck when they're bent over like that. First of all, their neck, the veins in their neck, or the artery in their neck has to have some kind of special mechanism just so when they bend all the way over with their head, all the blood doesn't rush their head and their head doesn't pop off. They also, because their blood pressure is super high, like it's their heart beats 150 beats per minute, which is really fast for a large animal like that. but it's because they got to pump that blood all around the body, and their little spindly legs have to be really, the skin on it has to be really taut, because otherwise all the blood would go into their legs, and that would kill them too. So they're very awkwardly built, but amazing in what they can do with their huge
They're so calm
necks.
for having a heart. They're so calm for having such a
I know.
fast heart rate.
Well, you know, their heart
Oh.
is huge. It's like the size of like 50 human hearts. It's just a gigantic
Did you
heart.
know that they only? Did you know they only sleep like 5 to 30 minutes in a day?
Well, apparently they only sleep. See, I've heard conflicting information on this, because one of the things about giraffes is people haven't studied them that much. And this is at least what they were telling me.
How could that be?
This program. I know, you'd think I find them to be one of the most interesting animals there is, right? And let's see, too tall for Starbucks drive-through, definitely. Antithesis of therapeutic. Can't wait for the giraffes. Yeah, we're balancing the show today with the giraffes. So, okay, so they got these giant hearts. Now, one of the things is they're like, why do you think their necks evolved to be so long? And the obvious choice would be, well, they have to reach up and eat food from the trees, right? But there's debate because people say it's actually so they can fight each other. Have you heard this?
Oh God! It all boils down to men fighting.
See them? There they are fighting.
It's always the males fighting.
They fight with their necks. And they do it sort of in a...
See, we're back to murder, death, kill.
I know. How does this happen? How does it happen? So, so essentially they establish dominance with fighting with their necks. And it doesn't seem like the best way to fight, really, but I guess that's the way giraffes can...
Okay, I'm sorry.
What?
Did you say they fight with dominance with their necks? Okay, so it's like the longest one wins. I mean, everything's about size.
I know. They're just... But you know what? It's not the longest one that wins. It's the one that can hit the hardest. I don't know what that means.
It's not the wand. It's the magician.
Yeah, it's not. It's what you do with your neck. I don't know what I'm talking about. No chicken is worth all this. Best animal in nature in animal crackers. It is the best animal. I haven't had animal crackers since I was a little kid. I'm gonna have to get some. So there's so many facts about them. What are the things on their head?
Yeah. Horns. They're called ossicones. Ossicones.
And are they
OSS?
like antlers or what are they?
Well, Joel,
Don't
that one I can't answer.
Well, let me tell you about it. I think they're cartilage at first. When they're born, they're cartilage because they can't. First of all, they have short necks when they're born. They don't have the super duper horns. I used the word super duper. I knew I'd get it in here somewhere. I'm trying to bring back the word super duper. It's tough though. There's a lot of pushback. So when they come out, they have short necks and their horns are made of cartilage because obviously that would hurt the mother as they were coming out. And the mother actually gives birth while standing up because they do most of the things they do while standing up because it's really hard for them to lay down. And that's why they only sleep for minutes at a time. And they sleep by crouching down and putting their neck on their back.
Like a bird, kind of.
Yeah, like a bird.
You know, like how a bird does it under a wing.
But their necks...
you're saying a lot of things.
Their necks are... I'm all over the place with this. But their necks are... they only have 7 bones in their neck like we do. But they're really long. And
wow.
Yeah. They're really long, super long necks. They have a chambered stomach. So they actually regurgitate their food and chew it again like a cow does. Which seems like why would you do that if you had this gigantically long neck? Why would you feel the need, if you got the food down there, to bring it back up again? I have no idea. But...
And apparently they only hang out with long-necked creatures since they're being photographed with ostriches. Yeah,
so apparently the other birds that have long necks, like ostriches and such, they have a different kind of neck where they have lots of bones. And this one only has 7 bones, but they are ball and socket joints, like your shoulder. So that's why they can. And then forget about it with the tongue. The tongue is outrageous. It's 10 inches long. It's black because the sun.
You're sure focusing on length today.
I know. I know the length of all the things. It's an obscene tongue. It's absolutely obscene tongue. They're great window washers. That's right. They get up there with their big tongues. Yeah. So this is some good therapy, I think. Any more?
I just thought you were saying things that we don't know about them. Apparently people assumed they didn't make noise. I don't know. You're talking about they haven't been studied. Apparently people assume they didn't make noise, but they can snort, hiss, make flute-like sounds with all that length. And they can make pitches so low that humans can't hear them.
You're kidding me. Well, there's a guy.
But maybe dogs can.
There's a guy out there on YouTube studying these things, and he is really into it. And they show him watching the giraffes at night, and he sees one of them crouch down and go to sleep, and he sees another one come by, and then he crouches down and goes to sleep. And one head has its head up, and then the other one has its head up, like they're taking turns sleeping. And he is just freaking out.
Oh, maybe does he think it's like one's keeping watch?
Yeah, and he's like, they must be talking to each other.
Pillow talk with no pillow.
And one more thing. When they fight with their necks, do you know what it's called?
Necking.
Necking, yeah. I don't know why.
Is it?
Oh, I wanted to say this. It's not necking like on Happy Days, but it's necking where they just hit each other with their necks. But after they fight, they kind of make up. The two male giraffes will caress one another, and it's sort of like they fall in love. It's like they fight and then they make love. For
that reason alone, they should be protected, because that is I don't never heard that about males fighting, but they would in the animal kingdom.
Well, it's unusual. It's very unusual.
Are they fighting there?
That's them fighting.
It's like a dance. It's beautiful.
All right, so we're moving on because we got to wrap the show up. I've got a great dance break for us, and the song mentions Zankou chicken, so we can get back to the great thing about Zankou chicken, which is how delicious it is. Let's get into it. Let's get into it here. Okay. Oh, I have this. I have to do this really quickly because last week we talked about the film Queen Mimi, and we had the director of Queen Mimi on the show, and he inspired this little thing here that I made. And it's just some stuff about travelers, because I'm looking forward to traveling again. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of this being in one place for years and years and years, it seems like. So I made this thing. It's like,
let's go to Africa.
Quotes from travelers inspired by the movie Queen Mimi. And this is Mark Twain, of course. Mark Twain said, "Travel is fatal to prejudice." I like that quote.
That's wonderful.
Do you know who this is? J.R.R. Tolkien. And, yeah, he said, "Not all who wander are lost." This kind of relates to Queen Mimi because she lived in a laundromat in Santa Monica for many, many years. If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. Todd Lee says, this is a super duper episode of Lunch Therapy brought to you by Extends. No. There was too much length talk going on. People all get in the gutter, don't they? Todd especially. Frances McDormand, Fern in Nomad Land. She says, "My mom says you're homeless. Is that true?" No, I'm not homeless. I'm just houseless. Not the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
Jack Kerouac. There was nowhere to go but everywhere, so just keep on rolling under the stars. Have you ever read On the Road with Jack Kerouac? I never read it.
Let's see.
Mahatma Gandhi. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Another new
there's a man who knew.
traveler. Anyway, okay, so there, we just, brought us around to some therapy there, and now we're going to get into the dance break. It is a song that mentions Zankou chicken.
Woo!
All right. So here we go, dance break time. This is from there. Okay, so there's a guy, his name is Adam Hipkind, and he's a UK musician. And this is from their live stream, and it's of a Beck song, not Jeff Beck, of a Beck song, and it mentions Zankou chicken. So here we go. And Ginny's gone for some reason. So this is Millie Upton. The song is called Deborah by Beck. In the show notes, you will find
I love
a link.
this song.
Yeah, you will find a link to the closeencounterclub.com,
When I met you,
where you can see live
down
performances
JC
of
Penney,
musicians.
I think your name tag, it said Jenny. I high stepped to you with a fresh pack of gum, 'cause somehow I knew that you were looking for someone new, like a fruit that's ripe for the picking. I wanna do you like that, Zankou chicken,
I don't know where Jimmy
'cause
went.
only you got the thing I just got to get with. I just got to get with you and know what we're
So
gonna
yeah,
do.
so in the show notes, you'll see the closeencounterclub.com, which is a website where they have live music. And they are also live streaming at South by Southwest this year, which is tomorrow night, 9 Central, I believe. They will be streaming live music, so check it out. I don't know how that works, but the link is in the notes for the show. I wish I had a shot of the tongue. Yeah. I'll have to get that. It is like, it's just, and it's like,
Girl,
I shouldn't be talking.
I gotta get down with you, 'cause you
It's
got
like an
something
animal, another animal,
that I
in
just
the
got to get
giraffe's
with.
mouth.
I'm gonna pick you up late at
separate-
night after work
A separate animal
and
with
say,
a
lady,
life of its own,
step inside my Hyundai.
like a, I don't know, like a
I'm
snake.
gonna take you down
slug.
to Glendale.
It's incredible.
I'm gonna cook you up a really nice
And it
meal,
like lives outside of the
'cause
giraffe's
only
mouth
you
for a lot
got
of the
the
time.
thing
Just hangs out
I
out there.
just got to get with. No, I got to get with you. You know
this
what
great?
we're gonna do. I wanna get with you.
This is to make up for all the murder that was on the show.
And your sister.
I apologize. I did not know that story would get so dark, but I wanted to bring it to you because
You
we made a reference to it on the show, and it is a crazy story.
and your sister.
Hopefully we got most
I
of it
think her
right.
name's
There'll be a
Deborah.
movie, I'm sure. No masks. I think this is a while ago. So yeah, check out the closeencounterclub.com for more music like this.
You drive me crazy.
And thank you, Adam. Thank you, Millie. Thank you, everyone else in this video, for supplying the dance break. They're on lunch therapy on a weird, wild, stuttery Wednesday. See you on Friday for Ivana Chubbuck talking acting.